Assalamu alaikum, girls. This is another short story, The Blanket by Floyd Dell. This is unit number 12 from your book, and I have taken out the text from the internet. I just wanted you to go through it on your own, and I've shared the same thing in the group also. It is always better that when you are reading a story, you have some guideline in your mind that what are you looking for. Otherwise, reading a story for fun can be just for pleasure, but when you're doing it for academic reason, that is when you're doing it for answering questions or taking an exam out of it. Obviously, there are something that you need to keep in mind. The first thing is setting. You need to realize where the story takes place, what time of the year, what time of the day, etc. So you need to take that in mind. Secondly, you need to see how the characters are. Now, characters are not given to you directly. आपने करना ही होता है कि आपको मुख्तलिफ डायलॉग्स में देखना होता है कि कैरेक्टर के बारे में क्या रेवलेशंस की जा रही हैं, कि उसका टेम्परामेंट क्या है, व्हाट द कैरेक्टर एक्चुअली सेज. सो इसके डायलॉग्स के थ्रू आप बहुत सी चीज़ें गेस कर सकते हैं. इवन एक्सप्रेशंस के whether she had a cold look or she looked away or she talked in a certain rude manner, तो उससे भी आप कैरेक्टर के बारे में काफ़ी कुछ जज कर सकते हैं. अच्छा, येलो में जो इधर है आपको ऊपर नज़र आ रहा है, ये सेटिंग है आपकी. सेटिंग है इसके प्लेस एंड टाइम. ग्रीन में जितने भी आपको हाईलाइटेड नज़र आएंगे वो हैं जी कैरेक्टर्स, कि जहाँ भी मुझे लगा कि आपको कैरेक्टर के बारे में कोई हेल्प मिल सकती है कि व्हाट दे आर एंड व्हाट दे आर डूइंग एंड व्हाट काइंड ऑफ नेचर दे हैव, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ पर्सनालिटी दे हैव, तो वो मैंने ग्रीन कर दिया है. पिंक जो है, जो शॉकिंग थिंग्स आपको नज़र आ रहा है, ये है जी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, या आप कह सकते हैं स्टोरी सेटिंग. जब आप स्टोरी की बात करते हैं तो उसका एक बिगिनिंग, मिडल और एंड होता है और उसके अंदर कोई ना कोई कॉन्फ्लिक्ट भी होता है. सो पिंक जो है वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को भी शो कर रहा है कि व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग, असल बीच में प्रॉब्लम क्या है. सो दैट हैज़ बीन हाईलाइटेड. और आगे जाके इसी स्टोरी में जहाँ मुझे लगा कि क्लाइमेक्स आ गया, क्लाइमेक्स आप किसी भी ऐसे इवेंट को कहते हैं जिसके बाद जो स्टोरी है वो बिल्कुल चेंज हो जाती है या वो ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में जाना शुरू हो जाती है. सो दैट इज़ कॉल्ड लाइक क्लाइमेक्स. सो वो क्या था एंड हाउ दैट वाज अचीव्ड एंड हाउ दैट समहाउ चेंज्ड द आउटकम ऑफ द स्टोरी ऑल्सो. सो दैट हैज़ बीन हाईलाइटेड. ग्रे में आपके पास जो है वो है जी आपका सिंबल, जो मेन सिंबल है वो द ब्लैंकेट. और वो इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि वो आपका टाइटल भी है. आपसे एक क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ द टाइटल द ब्लैंकेट, या व्हाट इज द ब्लैंकेट सिंबलाइजिंग इन द स्टोरी. तो ब्लैंकेट जो है वो ना सिर्फ एक फिजिकल चीज़ है जो यूज़ हुई है आपकी स्टोरी में, बल्कि एक सिंबल भी है जो आपकी स्टोरी से रिलेट करता है. सो इफ़ यू लुक एट द स्टोरी, it basically deals with family relationships, and especially in today's time when the family relationships are getting weaker and the families are disintegrating, meaning that the family values are being lost. Earlier the elders were given a very important role in the lives of the family members, and they were greatly respected, and nobody could even think of asking them to leave the house or maybe sending them away in an old house. But now in the Western society especially, it is becoming a norm that children don't keep their parents with them. So when they become too old to take care of, so they are sent to old homes and retirement homes or special facilities created by government, in which the old people are sent away because most people are working in jobs and they don't have time to take care of them. So even looking at it from that point of view, it feels very painful, especially for parents who have spent all their lives earning and spending on their children. And then when they become physically old and weak, the same children, give them up or send them away. So that is something which is emotionally very taxing, very painful to actually read about. एंड बिकॉज जो हमारी फैमिली वैल्यूज़ हैं पाकिस्तान की वो टोटली डिफरेंट है. हम यहाँ सोच नहीं सकते कि हम अपने दादा को या नाना को ओल्ड होम्स पे भेज दें. तो ये जो पूरी स्टोरी है, इट हिट्स अस वेरी क्लोज टू द हार्ट दैट हाउ कैन समबडी do that. But you need to remember that it is written in the context of the American society. Floyd Dell jo hai, he's an American writer, so maybe he has taken it from his perspective. And this is not like from nowadays. It was written back in the 50s and the 40s. So at that time, the trend had just started of sending the old people away in old homes and old houses. So you can look at the yellow part. It was a fine September night. So you know what the setting is. It is that part of the year, September, almost fall, autumn आया हुआ है. A thin white moon rose over the valley, so it is night time. पहला कैरेक्टर है जी आपका पीटर. So he is 11 years old, and um, he is lost in his thoughts somewhere, and his thoughts were fixed on a red and black blanket in the kitchen table. So the writer is not wasting a lot of time. So उसने फौरन से ही आपको जो अपना मेन सिंबल है वो दे दिया पहले ही 3 लाइनों में कि his thoughts were fixed on a red and black blanket on the kitchen table. The blanket was a gift from his father to his granddad, a going away gift. So the revelation comes in the 4th line कि जो ब्लैंकेट है वो आम ब्लैंकेट नहीं था, but this is a gift from his dad to his granddad, or not just like a birthday gift or a anniversary or something. It was a going away gift, means that the grandfather is leaving. They said that grandfather was going away. That's what they call it, going away. So a little boy of 11, he doesn't understand what is happening here. Peter has not really believed his father would send dad away, but now there it was, and going away gift. The dad had bought it the very morning, and this was the last evening he and his granddad would have with one another. So obviously he's not happy with it. I mean, he wants to spend more time with his granddad. But he always thought that maybe, dad is not serious about it. But then suddenly it happened, and, the blanket came, and then it was told that the next morning, the granddad would be going to the old house. Together, the old man and the young boy washed the supper dishes. Dad had gone out with the other woman he was to marry. तो ये आपके पास एक और कैरेक्टर आ गया. अब आपके पास पीटर है, फिर ग्रैंडडैड है, और अब ये डैड है, and then there is another woman that he is to marry. So it shows somehow that the mother of Peter is not there. हमें ये नहीं बताया गया कि whether she died or whether they got divorced. But the dad was looking after Peter with the help of his own father. But now he is getting married to a younger girl, and maybe she demanded that she did not want an old man in the house, so that is why granddad is being sent away. He would not be back for some time. When the dishes were finished, the old man and the boy went outside and sat under the moon. I'll get my harmonica. Harmonica is like a musical instrument. आपने हो सकता है बचपन में बजाया भी हो, but you need a lot of skill with that. आप उसमें puff करते हैं air को, so the music comes out. So it shows that this boy is very close to his grandfather, and they have been washing dishes together, and then they are playing harmonica. So this shows that they were quite happy in each other's company, and the boy is very emotionally attached to the granddad. But instead of harmonica, he brought out the blanket. So old man obviously वो show नहीं कर रहा outwardly, but he is very disturbed also. So वो अंदर harmonica लेने के गया, लेकिन वापस आया तो he had the blanket. It was a big double blanket now. Isn't it that fine blanket? Said the old man, soothing it over his knees. And isn't your father a kind man to be giving the old man a blanket like this to go away with? It cost something. It did look on at the wool in it, and the warm it will be in these cold winter nights to come. There will be no other blanket like him. So this shows his character, that even while he's going away, he's not bitter about it. और वो पीटर के जहन में भी कोई अपने फादर के लिए नेगेटिव इम्प्रेशन नहीं डालना चाह रहा, एंड ही इज जस्ट मेकिंग a lot of small talk, and he's appreciating the blanket, and he's saying that it's such a nice blanket. And it was like granddad to be saying that. He was trying to make it easier. So Peter knows his granddad very well, और उसको पता है कि जो granddad है, he's just trying to make everything easy, ताकि जो Peter है वो emotionally ready हो जाए for this departure. Ever since they had talked about going away, granddad has said that it was his idea. So this shows the character of granddad. That is why I have made it green. You can see how granddad is totally selfless, and he's not trying to make dad into a villain. वो कह रहा है कि तो idea ही मेरा था कि मैं जाना चाह रहा हूँ, and I just want to spend some time alone and not in the family. But obviously Peter knows that is not true. Imagine leaving a warm house and friends to go to that building, that government place, where he would be with so many other old fellows having the best of everything. But Peter had not really believed that. So उसको ये लगा कि शायद dad जब बात कर रहे हैं तो he's just doing that, but it's not going to happen. But then it did. And suddenly Peter realized that this was the last evening that they are going to have together. So the blanket just dropped on the floor, and the old man is just playing harmonica. First he played a little tune, but he realized it was a sad tune, so he said, "Okay, nahi, I'll sing something I'll play something very musical for you. And obviously the boy is very emotional, and he believes that the last time Peter thought he would never hear granddad play again, it was well that dad was moving to a new house away from here. So somehow he has this feeling that if the granddad goes away, this would be the last time that he would be seeing him, because they are moving to another city, moving some place far away, so he would not be able to visit granddad very frequently. And then granddad says that I'll play something nice for you. And the relationship is so fascinating, because Peter ने यहाँ कुछ कहा नहीं है. He's just looking over at the valley. Dad would marry that girl, yes, that girl who had kissed him and who had said that she would try to be a good mother to him and all that. So he's thinking about the future life, and somehow the granddad can guess that, okay, what is happening in Peter's mind. And he says that she's a fine girl your father is going to marry. He will feel young again with a pretty wife like that. And what would an old fellow like me do around the house, getting in the way? An old fool will all the talk about the backaches and the pains, and then there will be babies coming, and I don't want to be around listening to them cry all day at night. No, it's best that I leave. Well, one more tune or two, and then we'll go to get to bed and get some sleep. In the morning, I'll get my new blanket and take my leave. Listen to this. It's a bit of a sad tune, but nice one for the night like this. So again, grandfather is taking all the blame. Okay, I don't want to live here because I'll be in the way and there'll be babies and I'll get disturbed, so it is better that I get out of way. And then the girl comes. So green man isliye kiya कि because this is a new character coming, and they are laughing. And suddenly, she has come to say goodbye to the granddad, because in the morning the granddad is going to leave. And suddenly, she looks at the blanket. और उसका ये देखें डिस्क्रिप्शन भी जो दी ना, डैड एंड द प्रिटी गर्ल विद अ हार्ड ब्राइट फेस लाइक अ डॉल. So although she is beautiful, but she doesn't look a lot friendly. And she says, a fine black indeed. She turned to dad and said to him coldly, must have cost a pretty penny. So this just one dialogue shows you that how money oriented she is, and she does not like Peter's dad spending too much money on this blanket, because she wanted all the money to himself. So this shows that how greedy she is, and how self-centered she is, and how disrespectful she is, because she is saying it all in front of the granddad. He is also listening. तो उसके सामने कह रही कि भाई ये तो बहुत महंगा होगा और ज़रूरत क्या थी और ये तो डबल है, etc. And that little banter goes on कि भाई क्या ज़रूरत थी, it's a double one, a fine blanket for an old man to be going away with. And Peter, just got up and he came inside. He could hear the girl still talking about the expensive blanket. He heard his dad get angry in his slow way. So he could realize from the voices that the dad was getting annoyed. No matter what you say, he doesn't need a double blanket. Dad looked at her in a funny way, in his look in his eye. And suddenly, she could not control herself. उसने कहा भाई क्या ज़रूरत है, डबल ब्लैंकेट क्यों है, एक ले ले एक ना ले, सिंगल ले लिया होता. So Peter came out and he had a scissor in his hand. And he said, yeah, you are right, Dad. A granddad doesn't need a double blanket. Cut it with a pair of scissors. Cut it down, Dad. Cut the blanket in two. And everybody is a little surprised that why does he want to cut it. Yes, the boy said, a single blanket is enough for an old man when he's sent away. We'll save the other half, Dad. It will come in useful later. So this is where the suspense is. कि भाई उसने क्या करना है blanket से? Why does he want to cut it in two? I mean, said the boy slowly, that I'll give it to you, Dad, when you are old and I'm sending you away. So this is the climax. And this is a child teaching a lesson to the older generation. This is a child teaching a lesson to his own father, that if you are going to do this to your father, when I'm going to grow up and you are going to become old, I'll do the same to you. So what goes around comes around. What you are going to do to him, I'm going to do to you. And that somehow, wakes the dad up, and he realizes that how foolish he had been and how heartless he have been to be sending his own father away. And he stood in front of the grandfather, and but the grandfather put out his hand and laid on dad's shoulder. Peter was watching them, and he heard granddad whisper softly, it's all right, son, I knew you didn't mean it. And they all started crying. So this shows that granddad has a really big heart, and he just forgave him in that moment. And उसने कहा कि I know you were under a lot of pressure and you didn't mean it, but now you have learned your lesson. And they all started crying. So this also shows that the family is back together. So the main theme is family values, and taking care of the old, and especially what goes around comes around. जो आप करेंगे किसी के साथ वो कल आपके साथ वही होगा, especially with parents. Thank you.